Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the Ethereum market, whether that be Ethereum, the token, Ethereum, the blockchain, Ethereum, the NFTs. The market's going up. So we'll be talking ETH today. Load up for discussion. We've got ETH running through 3.4K. ETF inflows having a record day, $722 million. We'll be talking that in a little bit. We'll also be talking US Marshals reportedly disclosing only $3.4 billion worth of Bitcoin holdings are left in the US Treasury. So we'll touch on that. And we'll be talking generally about capital allocation, attention, where it's going at the moment. When the market gets exceptionally hot like it is right now, memes are sending all over the place. We'll just be trying to make sense of it, talking through some of our thoughts and strategies as we try to make sense of the market going in the direction that it's going, which is getting, it's getting difficult to keep up with everything, and you can't place your bets everywhere at the same time. So we'll talk through just some of our thoughts on that today. Got Legendary in the co-host seat with me, and if it wasn't obvious already, just a reminder, friends, that nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure, so please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Thursday. It is the 17th of July. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, doing absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful day in the market. I had a bit of a self-care day yesterday. Went for a massage, a swim, sauna, steam bath, infrared, all the good things. It's a nice steak for dinner, which I still need to post. To get back to the food minting posts, which I haven't done in a while. And I'm very happy if I check the chart. So it's a good Thursday.
Good Thursday, indeed.
How's your numbers go up anxiety going, which we talked about earlier this week?
I think it's fine. I think, what did I do in order to deal with that? I can't remember which day that was. Was that Monday, potentially? Thursday? I can't remember. I think I basically just sized into a few more things that I wanted to size into. And then I think part of the anxiety comes from not being allocated to the thing. I can't even remember what it was, but yeah, like you just want to be allocated to things you want to be allocated to. I'm not a big believer in like chasing every single thing. So sure, people always talk about rotations and going from Solana to ETH to Hyperliquid to whatever. I don't think you need to like chase every single rotation, but there were certain things that we just kept talking about on the show for like, I don't know, a week or two at least. And we just kept saying like, well, I kept saying, no, I really like Rector. Like, I just really like it. I think they're really undervalued versus everything else. If the market goes, I think they're going to go. So I upped my allocation there. And like, for example, Pengu, I kept saying the same thing, but I just like didn't get around to doing that. And I still haven't got around to doing that. But then I guess I upped it enough in Rect to kind of make up for it, in my opinion. But yeah, I think sometimes it's just, that there's things that you've got to do and you don't have enough time to do it. And that's what kind of annoys me, when you just don't get the time to do things that 100% that you want to do. And so once you get them done, then it's like, okay, cool. Now I can just kind of ride it out a bit. And then there'll be another day where you've got to reassess and do some more things. But at least you know that you've done the things that that you want to do. Because I never really get annoyed at trades that I miss because I didn't see them. The bad thing is if you see something and you don't do it, right? That's the worst thing. What's your reflections there, Ledge?
Yeah, I think I'm very much the same. Like, I talked to someone yesterday who had the plasma sale on the radar. They wanted to go in. Then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it a bit later, and then it's gone like, these are like really, really annoying moments. So definitely feel that.
To pat ourselves on the back just for like 1 second though, when it comes to those types of things, there is no one who is more prepared than us in general. Like, I don't know if people realize what we will do in order to make sure that we're like ready. Like, it's definitely not like, okay, this thing goes live at 2 p.m. I'll log in at 1:59 or 1:55 and just, see what's going on. It's like, no, like the day before or during the day before, make sure you've set the preset for all the gas and like the transactions you might need to do, make sure the funds are all in one place, make sure all the rules that the eligibility are satisfied and all this stuff. Like you've got to actually do this stuff.
Do you remember Do you remember our plasma discussion on that? So it was with gas fees, and we were like, okay, what is gas at? It was like at, I don't know, 2 gwei, 3 gwei. And we're like, yeah, maybe to like 100. And then we're like, yeah, but everyone might do 100. Let's do like 150. Then we're like, fuck it, why not do 200? And then we're like, then we can also do 300. And like, okay, we want to put in a significant amount of money. Like, we don't care if we pay a couple $100 in gas fees. Let's do 600 in gwei.
Yeah,
like got reminded of the good old days of trying to mint NFTs.
Yeah, like things have to be appropriately sized, right? Like if you want to do a lot, then paying 0.1 or 0.2 even in gas is like, it's fine. It's not a problem. You just have to be prepared and you have to go through that thought process. You can't like be guessing that stuff 5 minutes before, in my opinion. That's how we prepare for things anyway. Oxy, your hand is raised. Welcome to the stage, my man. What's your take here on kind of experiencing the market in the way that it's just accelerating at the moment?
Sure. Yeah. Speaking of 2021, good old days, NFT minting, as ETH gets back closer to 4,000, I start having PTSD about all the bids I didn't accept on my ETH NFTs back in the day.
Yeah.
That 25 ETH Doodles bid. For a while, it was only $2,000, per ETH or whatever. I was like, okay, well, obviously it hurts, but like not as bad. Now it's getting close to $4,000. I'm like, oh, damn. Probably should have accepted that bid. But it's just reliving, that, the heyday of 2021.
Yeah, it was a fun time, man. It was a fun time. One of the reasons why I think I'm quite happy with, I'm always happy if ETH runs, because I was thinking the other day, like, actually this morning, do I actually really not have much ETH? And I definitely don't compared to before. But then as you guys know, I still have like a ton of art, like a ton of NFTs. And so I think the numbers, when I look on the art side, are probably quite good. And this gives me an opportunity to assess those again. Like you get a second bite of the apple. Like if I didn't sell a squiggle when I wanted to sell it, this will give me the chance. And if I want to sell, I don't know, any of the things, whether it's some X copy editions, whether it's anything else, you get a second chance. Like I bought X copy editions at the top last cycle, spending an egregious amount on it. And this might actually give me a chance to break even. I don't know. Let's see. Ledge, any final thoughts here before we get into the main stuff today?
Yeah, I did similar math on other NFTs. Like Pudgies obviously in dollar terms now start to look quite attractive from a holder's perspective. How much is a Pudgy? A Pudgy is 14 ETH, and ETH is at 3.4K. So that puts a Pudgy at close to 50K. Where are we? Yeah, 47.6K. Like these numbers are starting to look quite nice for individual NFTs.
Yeah. I mean, the one reflection I have from 2021 for the people who are like looking for lessons there for a second, is NFTs can just go crazy when ETH goes high. And then it can become like such a silly proportion of your portfolio, like so fast, like so fast, where it becomes like entirely irresponsible even to be holding them, because somehow, I don't know, like 70% of your net worth is in NFTs or something. I think mine might have been higher in 2021 because of just like the way that it happened for me. Huh?
Yeah, when apes were pumping and I was holding my net worth. So my probably total proportion of crypto to real life assets was like 98 point something% in crypto, thereof 95% in NFTs. It was insane.
Yeah, it was like, because it just kept taking more and more of the percentage of everything because the price kept going up so fast. So interesting. Right. So we're kind of in dreamland here because ETH's going high and we're just thinking how high all the other stuff's going to go. But we'll get into a bit more serious conversation on it in a second, because we'll be talking ETH. We'll be talking ETF inflows on ETH, and we'll be talking just like the knock-on effects for the rest of the market in just a little bit. So let's start off as usual though with the price action, starting with the majors. We'll start with Bitcoin, as always. Bitcoin is flat today at $118,000, and everyone who has been holding ETH will be delighted to tell you ETH is up 10% while Bitcoin is flat. 3.4K, up 24% in 7 days. I think it's more than 30% on the month, which is huge. XRP, however, is outperforming. The real major is up 11% to $3.30, up 34% on the week. That's insane. Okay, so XRP is really pumping. BNB is up a few percent as well, over 700 again to $720. Solana's up 6%, also to $176. And our favorite alternative major cryptocurrencies, Hyperliquid's down a couple of percent to $46.70, still up 13% on the week. And Sui is flat at $4, up 24% on the week. So Hyperliquid definitely cooling off here a little bit. Obviously, maybe the Q1 and Q2's big winner. Maybe that needs to cool down a little bit for the moment. We'll get some thoughts in a bit. Onto the meme coin side of things, as you can expect, with ETH going pretty aggressively hot, memes are running. Doge is up 7%, Pepe's up 6%, Bonk's up 13%. Interestingly, Bonk is up 13%, Pump Fun is down 15%. So that 1 day of kind of sporadic buys from the founder seemingly stopped. Maybe there'll be more. There is a buyback wallet, but didn't do any more yesterday. So that's at 5.5 bill now. And Bonk is the 49th biggest coin. Pump is 69th. And I think Bonk is doing more revenue at the moment. So we'll monitor that. Another notable one that's actually down today, mainly because of how hard it's been running, was Pengu's down 7% after being up 58% on the week. So, I mean, these things are going to have to cool down at some point, right? You can't literally just go up in a straight line for multiple weeks in a row, or multiple days in a row even. So Pengu is one of the best performers, down 7% today. SPX is up a couple of percent to $1.85. That's 20% in the week. Fartcoin's up 22% today to $1.50, and that's 28% on the week. Flocky is also up a similar amount. WIF is flat around $1.10. Mog's down just a touch, but has been doing all really well. You get the picture here, guys. Sometimes I'm just kind of explaining the obvious in some ways. Things are really, really green, and the things that have been really, really green maybe the last couple of days are just cooling off and having to settle down a bit. So that is that. Getting into the headlines themselves, we have ETH. We're going to be talking ETH. We're going to be talking the ETF inflows having a record day, having $720 million coming into them, whilst Bitcoin only had, whilst Bitcoin had 799 mil. So that ratio has obviously come way, way down. So we'll be talking about that. And then the other headline we want to chat about is US Marshals reportedly disclosing only $3.4 billion worth of Bitcoin holdings for the United States. It's around 29K Bitcoin. It's not entirely confirmed. I just wanted to kind of talk around it and see what we thought about that. And then beyond that, we'll just be talking the rest of the market, because I think most people are focused on price action today. Ledge, anything going on the NFT side that we need to know before we hit the rest of the roundup?
Yeah, a couple of things to point out. Notable sales, this autoglyph, which we're sharing on screen, which did sell for $380,000 US. And in terms of the collections, a bit of a mixed picture. We have Pudgies correcting down a bit, 5%, but still at basically a 14 ETH floor. Apes up a touch, up 2%, 11.5 ETH. Azuki's other collections are flat. The ladies, however, are up 4.5%. Project Eon, which is tied to SPX as a meme coin, is up 11%. Kato Genesis NFTs up 10%. Kato is also coming out with a launchpad, so that might have helped that collection move. But definitely one of the big winners of the day, have to mention it unsurprisingly, are the Bad Buns. They're up 30-something% on the day, sitting at a 0.55 ETH floor, which makes me very happy, given that I'm the largest individual wallet holder of this collection. I assume there might be some larger holders who have split across different wallets, but I do have 47 of those, so it's quite nice to see that.
Yeah, we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those. Obviously, I mean, together, what are we pushing there then? We're pushing like
2.5% between the two of us.
2.5%, 527-ish or something. So yeah, that's the directional bet on Mega ETH. Yeah, it's so NFTs are fun. NFTs are fun, especially when they're going up in this way, especially when there seems like a nice community forming as well. So that sounds fun. That's our directional bet on Mega ETH at the moment, which is the liquid bet. So we'll see how that goes. Where were we? So that's going well. Web3 Roundup. In some other news today, we had Bank of America CEO revealing they're working on launching a stablecoin. So that's good news, I guess. Coinbase announces new base app as new crypto super app. Maybe we'll touch on that in a second, because that's kind of big news. Nasdaq listed Windtree launched BNB crypto treasury strategy with 60 mil securities purchase agreement. Plasma public sale, as we've mentioned just in the intro. Plasma being the kind of tether-backed stablecoin chain. That's going live today at 9 a.m. Eastern time, so in 1.5 hours, I think. And the allocations are guaranteed for depositors, though. If you did not deposit, if you do not get into the $1 billion of deposit, you do not have an allocation and you have no way to get in. But if you did, you do not need to stress. It's not, you don't need to do it at that time. I think it's open for like 10 days. So plenty of time there. Out of 500, raising 50 mil out of 500 mil valuation. Phantom announces $500 million trading volume from Hyperliquid perps integration. That's up from 350 mil just 2 days ago. So that integration is working delightfully for Phantom, I am confident to say. And Chimpers announced Blindbox plush keychains are now live for pre-orders. Good friends of the show, Chimpers. They're one of the first people who supported me as a creator at least a couple of years ago now. Good to see they're still here, like pushing the IP and doing an awesome job. And that sold out. It sold out really fast. So congrats to them. Ledge, and then maybe a final thing on the social side, Kaito announced Capital Launchpad, initial community offerings via Launchpad owned by the community. So that is pretty interesting as well. I suspect it's some kind of opportunity for individuals to participate in ICO style raises from the projects who are using Kaito, which I think really actually makes sense. I do think a number of people will get used as exit liquidity as part of that, because most people probably shouldn't be angel investors. Most people don't realize that a lot of the stuff you do will lose money. But look, I'm for democratic access. So if you want the access, you should have the access. You just need to be aware. But cool integration from them, because people can even pick from, maybe you can just see how people stand on a social, in the kind of social standing, and see whether, you know, who you want to allocate towards a bit more as a project. Ledge, that's the roundup. Before we get into the main headlines today, what's catching your attention from here?
Yeah, quite a few things. Opinions.fun launching powered by Kato is a nice one for me, because I invested in this company ages ago when they had a bit of a different mission. But to me, the really big news today is Phantom. I think this has to be like one of the most successful integrations and partnerships that we've seen in a long time. Like the amount of volume that is being driven through Phantom so very casually, because they do promote it in the app, and you have this trade perps up to, I don't know how much leverage they promote that with. It's very smooth. It's very organically, natively integrated. It works well. And it's driving insane volume. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? Like, I just think these builder codes, this builder code situation on Hyperliquid, where look, you don't need to worry about building this whole stuff yourself. You just use your distribution and plug in. Like, if you have the distribution, if you have the users, why would you not just plug in Hyperliquid as well, giving them the option to do that? Like, just add it in, add a tab on your app, let people plug in. Like, you don't need to build that whole market out yourself anymore. It's just there for you. So I think that integration is going to is going to happen a lot more. Lej, what was the thing you said before? Who did you invest in here?
Opinions.fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was ages ago.
Really?
I think a year, 1.5 years. They wanted, I think they wanted to do a perp originally, if I recall correctly, but they did pivot. But the two other things I wanted to touch on, I know we want to talk base separately, so I'm not going to touch on that. A quick one on Chimpers. Pretty cool move. Like, given how popular Labubus are and how much they're trending all over TikTok and social media, them doing a similar styled blind box drop is just very culturally aware, very, very cool to see. And then the other big thing for both of us is obviously the plasma sale today. I think you have to, no, I don't think, I know you have to KYC for the sale. And if I recall correctly, if not everyone is KYCing, they're not fully depositing their allocation that they are eligible to get, we can basically get the scraps. So we can deposit more. And if it's not fully allocated and sold out because not everyone KYC'd, we can get a bit more than our initial allocation. And I'm curious to see how much our allocation to that will be so that the moon math on that can start.
Yeah, it's a good point. I definitely need to read the documents. That's always a good starting point for figuring out these things. But yeah, my understanding is you can definitely put more in, and if anyone doesn't allocate, then I don't know, it gets allocated amongst all the people. I wouldn't be hopeful for something like this that people don't allocate. You know, I think
every dollar more that I can get of plasma exposure counts.
Yeah, fair enough. But
then
then you have
something like invest with fantasy. So I need in my mind to think that this is going to flip circle, right?
But the thing is, you know, you're tying up the dollars, right? Like, so again, this is not a situation where you invest and then get the dollars back tomorrow. Like TG is not next week. It is, I think, again, got to read the docs. It's at least a month lockup or something.
40 days, I think it is.
Yeah. So it could be as much as 40 days, this like new lockup period. So, I mean, you know, you're earning yield, which is fine. That's good. But, you know, 40 days is a long time. So it depends, I guess, if you've got that spare capital to throw in. It could very much be worth it, to be fair. So
yeah, I mean, given how much you put in to get the ticket, it doesn't make like too big of a difference to add a bit more to get a high exposure to a potentially bigger ticket now. But the interesting thing on that is, and we talked about that yesterday, we talked about it's crypto week in the States, administration is voting for different acts, including Genius Act stablecoin regulation, and it didn't go through. Then we did report on the fact that Donald Trump said, you know, the 12 congressmen and women who did not vote in favor of that will have a chat with me in the Oval Office. And then it did go through the day after once they revoted. And unsurprisingly, and this is a trade that I missed, but I wanted to bring it up, is a Circle. Circle went up 20%, went from a bit under $200 to $233 in a day after that passed. So that would have been an easy trade, reading Trump's post and seeing, oh, okay, they're going to vote for that. The day after, just buy some Circle again and sell into the pump. But that's also good news for Plasma. So I'm not too fed up with that because Plasma might go even higher with that.
Well, Plasma is definitely kind of proxy tether exposure, but is not the same as that necessarily.
I know. And it just need my little narrative of Plasma being tether chain.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is definitely how people are looking at it to some degree. But that's a good trade, man. It was a good one to think of. Circle, that would have been a good one to think of before that regulation went through. So, okay, well, you can't catch them all necessarily. I think, I mean, talking of catching ones, we'll maybe talk a little bit more SBET in a bit. I've got a bunch of more technical stuff, which I think Legendary is going to go through in a bit. But before we get there, I thought the other big news ultimately coming out of yesterday was this base article. So let me just open that up here. The they obviously had this big announcement to say it's like a new chapter for Base. The very high level explainer of what they shared was that Base is now evolving to be more than a chain. They've introduced the Base app, which is the formerly Coinbase wallet, which they consider to be an everything app to create, earn, trade, discover apps, and chat with friends all in one place. When you sign up for the Base app, you'll automatically also get the best of the Base account, the easiest way to manage your on-chain identity, and Base Pay, the fastest way to check out with USDC. So everyone's going for this. I mean, we're showing some of the vision on the screen if you're watching in, but like everyone's going for the everything app, right? Where you can pay, you can chat, you can be social, you can collect, you can, it's I don't know what this is. It's like a wallet / Instagram / Zora / everything all in one place. And so this is the big vision for crypto to go, I guess, more mainstream, break out beyond just our specific bubble who are trading memes and narratives in the way that we do. This, I guess, is the vision for this to go far more mainstream in a more meaningful way. Ledge, do you have any specific thoughts on this in terms of what they're trying to achieve here? Do you think this is a step forward for Base specifically? And yeah, what are your thoughts?
I like the streamlining, Base chain, Base app, Base build. That makes a ton of sense. What I don't get is this obsession of everyone wanting to do their own social media platform, their own social network, because they also have this, an open social network, new social feed in Base is powered by Farcaster, yada, yada, yada. It is just so hard to establish a new social media platform. Ultimately, Meta failed with Threads as their competitor to X. Elon did the right thing. He was like, if you want to have a successful social media platform, then just buy one. But I don't get this obsession of putting so many resources into trying to build what is so incredibly difficult to do, because you won't get people moving over to other social media platforms that easily unless they're unlocking a new vertical, which TikTok did in a sense. So apart from this like social media focus, I think it's cool to streamline that. But that social media focus feels a bit
I feel like I'm just going to say something that I'm thinking of live on the spot. I don't know if this is right or not. So just going to say it and see how it turns out. Maybe social media, should it not be each new social media needs to be determined by like a particular art form, in the sense that, okay, Instagram was photos, like that's how it started at least, and fine, it evolves to other stuff, but like that's what it was known for. You share photos themselves, and then that gets it going. People like it for that. Twitter is the written word, and again, people are now doing other stuff on Twitter, but at this beginning, that's what it got going. People wanted to share the written word and interact with each other in that way. So that is what it was known for. TikTok, short form video. That's what, all of these things it's content first in a way. Like people decide that they want to share a particular type of content, and the current and the existing platforms do not provide a good way for you to share that specific type of content. And so, there's this, every now and again, there's this new opportunity to facilitate that new type of content for people to start sharing. I don't know in this instance, like is there a new type of content here? Because if there isn't, then I'm like similarly skeptical on the kind of social side. But I guess this could be still pretty helpful and interesting from maybe a payment perspective. Like you could be super helpful to download the app, and you're going to make it super easy for me to pay for things, with USDC that I have on Base, for example. So from the payment side, I think it could be super helpful. And I actually don't have a solution for this in the real world yet. I've yet to find the right, probably because the UK just gets banned from everything in general. So, and then when you move around, like the geographies for the rollouts for all of these things, I don't know, it's hard to keep up with like what you're allowed to do in some places and what's not going to work in some places. And until it becomes ubiquitous, I think it's really hard to spend your time getting to know a technology, you know, whereas your credit card will just work wherever you go. And so for the moment, for me, that's still the easiest thing, irrespective of anything. But yeah, on the social side, I think it's incredibly hard to break into that bracket. Final thoughts, Ledge, before we get into the main ETH conversation. You're on mute, I think.
Nothing to add on that, but I said I wanted to hear from Carpenter, who has his hand up.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the base stuff. Yesterday's like something that stuck out to me. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
All right, perfect. I tried the computer again today. So there, it was like the biggest thing that stuck out for me, and it kind of touches on your payment thing, is they like doing a partnership with Spotify or Shopify, which is kind of like, I took it as like the big thing for the base. Like the whole thing yesterday was like powering the creator, right? They want to bring like millions of creators over, as far as like, and then like Gary Vee kind of brought up in that thing where it's like tipping, like everyone has this mind of tipping, right? And so they brought up a thing where like paying to comment, you know, paying your content creators. And the big thing I kind of took from it, as well as, you know, it being like the most bullish thing was the Shopify, right? And then also having like the base build is basically going to be, well, it is live now for people on the wait list, and they're going to keep bringing it out for more people, but also the like really incentivizing, you know, a creator economy and rewarding creators. It's kind of the, and then a couple like this, that's kind of what like stuck out to me, is like the creator economy. And
I like it. Thanks for the additional context, Carpenter. Yeah, there's the partnership with Shopify, I think is important. And then I guess I did see the clip about Gary Vee talking about the kind of tipping culture. The thing for me thinking there though is more like, I think that's very much like with streaming, like when people are watching someone over a long period of time, they want to tip. Whereas I guess on a social media platform, would you tip someone who you just see some of their content, but they're not like live with you? I don't know. Maybe that's the new kind of thing they want to create. But I feel like the tipping culture is very much intertwined with streaming over a period of time. So that's the thing I would want to keep my eye on, I think. Appreciate the take though. Let's get into the main stuff today, Ledge. We've got ETH, big conversation on ETH. ETH just keeps ripping, which is wonderful for everyone involved. What do we need to know here on ETH? What's going on in the ETF? What's going on with SBET? Anything else going on in the market that is giving us some important signals here?
Yeah, quite a few things to point out around the ETH price action. One of which you already mentioned, that is the net inflows into ETFs. As you said, this is a new record for ETH, 720 mil. You put it in perspective, BTC was at almost 800 mil, so basically 90% of the flows that BTC received also went to ETH, which is insane because that discrepancy, it used to be the other way around. It used to be maybe 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. So that also puts the total volume of this week flowing into ETH at almost $2 billion. And a DC investor who is not only a very prominent trader, but also a permanent ETH bull, had this to say on that. He said, CT is irrelevant. No one cares. What you need to understand is TradFi is waking up to the fact that they and their clients are underallocated to ETH, the token of the platform, leading the stablecoin tokenization boom. Correcting this will send ETH into trillions. And also saying that we're hitting a point where the scarcity of ETH will be visible in the charts now that SBET and MNR mop up excess supply daily. 2K ETH per day issuance is nothing. Expect Wall Street to start talking about this soon alongside the tokenization boom. And that reminds me of this ultrasound money narrative that we tried to paint back in the days when ETH fees were still high and the fees were higher than the daily mint of ETH. And for that reason, it was a deflationary asset. And now we kind of paint a similar narrative. Obviously, the difference is that if money flows into ETH ETFs, that supply is not burned and can be sold at any time. But just to put it in perspective, on a day like yesterday, we said it's 700 million US dollars. Putting that in ETH terms, that's 200k ETH versus an issuance of 2k ETH a day. So this is a nice looking narrative for the ETH price to go up. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is one of the underappreciated aspects of ETH, right? People talk about scarcity a lot, and Bitcoin being only 21 million, and people like it for that. But the issuance, like, it's still issuing, right? People are mining it, therefore the issuance is actually higher than ETH at the moment. So it's an underappreciated aspect of Ethereum. Like, if you like scarcity, then you should like ETH, because the tokenomics and the economics of it are actually quite attractive if you want to minimize the amount of supply that keeps coming to the market. So admittedly, there's this maybe separate issue of the Ethereum Foundation always selling. That was definitely one of the things that were driving people crazy. Like, let's just not, can't put that in any other way. Like, it was driving people crazy that the foundation would just keep, like, as soon as ETH was like going a bit better, there'd be this humongous sell thing, which, look, fair enough, maybe they need to fund things in that way, but it would still drive people crazy. But now you have people,
because it looks horrible from a psychological perspective. But now that you have SBET absorbing that, that's so much better, right?
Yeah, you can sell to SBET, you can sell to Bitminer, you can sell to, there's another one, BitBet, I think, as well, is another one that's around. So you just got these other options that are willing to kind of absorb ETH issuance or Ethereum Foundation sell pressure, which in the grand scheme of things is probably not that much. I think it was just a narrative that was unhelpful at the time when the price was struggling. But yeah, so you've got all these factors which I guess make ETH suddenly, very, very suddenly, for people who did not appreciate it for a while, look very, very good. Lej, what do you think in terms of SBET, for example? Okay, so there's two questions I want to ask, and I want to discuss for a minute. If you're looking for ETH exposure now, are you going stock market ETH exposure or Ethereum on-chain exposure? And then the second question I forgot, so I'm going to think about that in a second.
I mean, you put it beautifully. I don't know if it was in a post or on the show. ETH is the asset, SBET is the ticker.
I mean, that's just what an advertisement that they have up running. Like,
is that so? I thought it was your original framing and phrase.
I mean, that would be nice. But no, they literally have that advert running. SharpLink have that advert running. I think, I don't know if it's in Times Square or somewhere, but like, they have that advert running somewhere.
Yeah, actually, I don't care. I heard it from you first, so I will quote you on that. We said it. We said it on the show yesterday. I said it, that I had sold out of SharpLink, bought back like 3 minutes before the show, and that was a good decision because the stock is up 29% on the day, up 11.5% on the pre-market, which puts it at $41.70, which also means it's up 119% over the last 5 days, which is basically outperforming ETH over the last 3 months. Like, ETH is up 117% or so over the last 3 months. Absolutely insane run for SBET. A couple more technical things to know on that. That is coming via Tyler, who said a few items of note here for SBET. The team hit their at the market sell limit, so shouldn't be selling any additional shares for the next week at a minimum. That means less daily sell pressure. The next potential ATM will be a big one. It's very bullish ETH if that ATM goes through. That is, if they can sell more shares, buy more ETH, and then increase their exposure. They are already the largest holder of ETH, have surpassed the ETH Foundation, now that they also have added another $68 million worth of ETH. So it is already the strategy of ETH, and there's multiple things that I think look very interesting here. One of which is, like, I spoke to a TradFi friend of mine who wasn't like very aware of what's going on with SBET, but he's like, oh, that's like someone from the core Ethereum team doing that. That gives it extra legitimacy that Joseph Lubin is a part of that. then B, from our like core Web3 perspective, the fact that this psychological ETH foundation selling can be absorbed in more elegant ways now. And C, the point that DC Investor made with Genius Act going through stable coins being mostly domiciled on ETH, either L1 or L2s, clearly now driving institutional interest to ETH, because otherwise we wouldn't see ETH inflows being almost as high as BTC inflows into the ETFs.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think about with this is kind of like a more zoomed out perspective for all of this stuff. Remember, this is my second cycle. And to be honest, I think even the first cycle, I was really late. Like if I only got in when NFTs started going crazy or just before they started going crazy, like I think that was relatively late even to that cycle. So the thing that I'm realizing, I think, is that when things start to move in price, you'll have people like us and other people just start talking about, we got to have something to talk about, right? And there are factors to consider and there are interesting questions to ask and things to discuss. But, why is ETH moving now? You can zoom in and like look at particular details, but I think by far and away the biggest thing here is that Wall Street has picked up on this in a much bigger way than it ever has done before. You have Joseph Lubin with SBET, SharpLink Gaming, creating this accumulation vehicle which looks to be very well backed, and people seem very happy to back in an attempt to copy MicroStrategy. And then you have Tom Lee on the other side, and you do have some others as well. Those are not the only two, but those are probably the two most prominent, with the two biggest names. And people are just like, now that flywheel can happen, right? Like raise money, buy ETH price goes up, raise more money, buy ETH, flywheel just flywheels. And for all the narratives that people tried before, like, oh, maybe it's, by the way, ETH issuance is less than Bitcoin, it's ultrasound money, it's the home for stablecoin. Like all of those things were true 6 months ago, but it didn't affect the price performance. And maybe a bigger reflection I've had is that if you think, even just zoom out 6 months, Legendary, like just think, man, that was back when the market was going crazy on the AI tokens and stuff. It just makes me think all of the money to be made when you're thinking purely with a trading hat on is in like such relatively short periods of time, man. Just think, like we started this show, 2.5 years ago now or something, in the bear market, probably, I can't remember now. And just like trudging along, finding like interesting things to talk about. Sure, we found ways to make money, but like if you compare that to what this is now, when the market has basically decided we are going to push this, and the politics kind of lines up, the interest rates line up, the good geopolitical stuff starts to line up, like it's almost like it's just going to go, like irrespective of what narrative you create. So that's just like one reflection I was having, just to make sure people we're not like reading some tea leaves explaining why ETH is going up. Like there are some reasons, but also it's part of a bigger story here, right? Ledge, final curious for your thoughts there. And I can see Oxy with his hand up as well.
Yeah, very much agree with that. Don't have much of substance to add other than the fact, just looked up how high the ETH price was when we started the show in May 2023. What would your guess be?
May 2023 would be 1.6.
Pretty good. 1.8.
Not bad, right?
Mm.
Yeah, there was a long period of time. It was just like chilling in that region. Could have bought as much as you liked. Oxy, curious for your thoughts here. Final take on this topic of ETH, the asset, versus SBET and the stock market play. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So kind of ties into ETH, but also maybe into the next headline a little bit with the how much Bitcoin the U.S. government holds. But this also might be a alt season wishful cope take kind of deal. But I was talking to my neighbor the other day, and he's very much a normie, not Web3 native, if you will, or crypto native. And he was expressing these concerns on how, Bitcoin, although it's like the major, the government's getting involved and BlackRock owns a ton of it, and so he's like, I like altcoins like Ethereum and stuff like that, because he viewed like him and his circle, which is like Facebook groups, which is crazy, but like they're worried that there's this Bitcoin's like, oh, the government's going to be like have its hands in it, and they don't see the government talking about Ethereum and all these side coins and stuff. So that got me thinking, like, okay, first off, no, the retail investor doesn't care about the tech at all. Like they don't care that the Ethereum Foundation's selling. He didn't know that SBET was buying Ethereum. He was more so just thinking, Trump's talking about Bitcoin and BlackRock's buying Bitcoin. I don't like that. I want to buy something else. And that, coupled with the Ethereum inflows into the ETFs, indicating maybe retail is like buying into that and stuff, that got me. I was just like, that is like that's the weirdest thing that I would never even think of, that the retail investor might be thinking, in that way. But then it just got me thinking more like, okay, is there any way that, retail or like the normal individual does like this GameStop type, oh, this is a retail coin or what have you, with some of these altcoins? I don't know. The conversation it kind of blew my mind a little bit. I mean, I'm on CT every day, and obviously we have these narratives that we're spinning ourselves, but it was just a really interesting take, I thought.
I mean, I have two immediate thoughts on that, and then we'll go to Ledge and we'll get into the next headline. Like, I think following or like thinking what retail is going to do now, I think is pointless, to be honest. I mean, sure, like I'm not thinking about retail anymore. I'm thinking about just the institutions. Like that's my core thing. So, I know before we needed to think of, or one of the things that was helpful to think of was like, what are retail going to buy? Sure, and you can still do that, and maybe they do come and they buy some sort of memes in size. That's fine, but I want to be a part of whatever all of the institutions are coming in to buy. So I want to be a part of Bitcoin, and I want to be a part of ETH, and I want to be a part of anything else that they think that they believe in or have like some bullish thesis on in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months and beyond. And look, that doesn't mean I don't share some of the reservations. I think it's incredibly sad for crypto. Like something has definitely been lost by, the government's involvement in Bitcoin. Like that is not the original vision. There's like absolutely not what people came out to build. And maybe the whole system kind of gets bastardized in some way as a consequence. But yeah, like this is just a reality. Like, are you going to line up with BlackRock for your bags, or are you going to, go and build some new thing? Like, I'm all for going to build the new thing as well if you want to. I'll support that as well. But from the purely investment perspective, I'll be happy for Larry Fink to push the assets for a little while and take over from the more crypto native people. And then the second point I would say is, yeah, I don't think retail will buy Bitcoin. Like, I think retail will not buy Bitcoin anyway. I don't think normal people will buy Bitcoin at all. I think it's going to become like a purely institutional kind of thing. It's just way too expensive. It'll be horrible people to buy like 0.001 and whatever they can afford to like kind of allocate it, and they just won't have that time horizon to think that it's worth it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they will find themselves further down the risk curve from that perspective. So those are my thoughts on that. Ledge, curious for yours before we hit the final headline.
Yeah, two thoughts on that. I learned my lesson to not try to predict what retail does 4 years ago.
Why?
And we had Coinbase coming out with their own NFT platform. We shared the story multiple times on the show, where we literally went to OpenSea back then and looked at NFTs and we're thinking, what could the retail investor like? Let's buy a bunch of these NFTs, a bunch of those JPEGs. And then, yeah, Coinbase NFT absolutely failed and retail did not come for our JPEGs. Now I prefer to follow the flow of the money instead. And that makes some trades very, very telegraphed if you have such an insane amount of money and interest flowing into things. And then the second thing I wanted to comment on before we really have to move on is that, you said the original vision, or part of that original vision, cypherpunk ethos got lost. That is true, but it always also had an artificial ceiling. Like, it's not realistic to imagine a world where BTC goes to the heights where it did go now, sitting above 100K, being a multi-trillion-dollar asset, and TradFi governments BlackRock being like, yeah, let's ignore this parallel shadow finance world that is so cool and does trillions in volume and is pumping and pumping year after year. That's just unrealistic that this will exist. So at one point, it was preordained that if it hits a certain market cap, if it survives for a long enough period of time, other types of players and traditional finance will get interested in that as a new asset class.
Yeah, completely agree. To be fair, not realistic to kind of keep the original vision in its. And in fact, I think surely part of the original vision was that it would become the world currency. You can't just cut out all the incumbents. Like they're obviously going to get involved at some point. So I think that's the more realistic, pragmatic take. Maybe it's just a final thought though, Legendary, because I think a lot of people have seen us with the SBET play. If you want to just pull that one up again, like
absolute pleasure to pull up the chart again.
So what exactly are we thinking? Like, look, we don't like dwell on price or trades specifically on the show. We obviously talk generally about what we're doing, but this one was maybe a more prominent one. What are you thinking here? Like, I don't know, obviously like up a lot already, but do you like it here? Do you want to hold for more mania? For me, it's like, look, if you believe ETH is going to go higher, then this just goes higher faster. If you believe Bitcoin is going to go higher, this also, well, maybe leave Bitcoin out of it for a second. But if you believe ETH's going to go higher, you think this is going to go higher, right? Is that a simple enough way to think about it, or what's your framework?
So I initially bought at 19 and sold the day after 26, then bought back in at 30 something. And now I am happy to hold it a bit longer because when I first bought, I was like, oh, cool. This is like my fun portfolio. I buy a crypto adjacent stock when it's up like 20% or so, just or 25%, I'm just going to dump it. But now seeing how fast ETH is running and how much more money is accumulating into the ETH ETFs, I don't think ETH's run is over. And for that reason, I doubled up on my SBET position. And for that reason, I'm happy to keep it up and running and see what happens if ETH goes to 4K with it, and then see when I take profits with that. But for now, not gonna sell for 30% profit this time.
Yeah, I think what do I think? I'm just kind of comfortable with it. I just feel like the story is very new. It's like it's all happened so fast. I think you need to let these things cook, you know, like and look, this might be, you know, obviously when you're early to something, you have the aspect of, you know, you have to be a bit more of a dreamer. You have to be willing to be wrong. The right comparison, I think, which will sound maybe it doesn't sound crazy to be honest, but like, look, MicroStrategy, they're attempting to do what MicroStrategy did for Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy is obviously humongous, and one of these entities, if not at least a few of them, will have a go at that. And so that's what you're kind of hoping for. But MicroStrategy didn't get to where it is in 6 days or whatever. Like this run started like 10 days ago. So in general now with these positions, I'm trying less to think about, and look, sometimes you get to a price and you're just like, look, this is the right price for me. I don't care if I think it's more to run, and maybe that'll happen. But in general, I'm trying to think more like, what's the time horizon that is required to let the thesis play out? Like you need to give these people a chance to be the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. Like if that's what you think that they're going to be, or if that's even what they're trying to do, let them try. They've been doing it for like what, 7 days? Let them try for a month or something. Like again, maybe the market changes, maybe the politics change, maybe the geopolitical situation changes. So there's all these other factors that will 100% impact that thesis. So I'm not saying hold it because that's their vision. If the market changes, then look, you have to, and you think ETH is suddenly going to half in price because of something ridiculous, then fine, get rid of it. But I think in general, got to, right now, as the way things are set up with all those other things, I think you've got to give it a chance. Give it a chance to do the vision. It's been like 7 days before people knew what the hell SBET stood for. So let's see. Let's see. And of course, it could go so hot so fast that it just needs to correct as well, right? Like you can't go up in a straight line.
Of course.
So there might be a time when it corrects, and that's also, you just got to decide that for yourself. Go on,
And
Ledge.
ETH also won't go up in a straight line. So if ETH will dip, pretty much expect SBET to dip even more. But I'm comfortable in that. And just because you mentioned strategy essentially from 2021 to 2024 was trading under $100 most of the time, in the range like from $28 to $40 before it exploded to 460, where it is trading at now.
From when was it? Just say that again.
2021, it was like $15, $17, went up to 100 once, held that from 2021, the mania, to 2022, around like $70, $80, and then grinded down lower to $20, $30 all the way until it started to pick up pace towards the end of 2023, and then managed in 2024 to reclaim the $100 mark again. And ever since, it's gone up to where it is now, to 455.
If you are not watching the stream at the moment, that is a chart. I mean, I know Legendary described it perfectly, but what a chart. 20x then basically off the lows from the bear market lows, right? But I guess what's happening here is
37x.
37x, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that either of these ETH strategy things are going to be exactly the same, but for the risk reward, you're starting in a bull market as well. I feel like it's worth like letting it breathe a bit. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. Well, that's how I'm thinking about it anyway. Everyone else can do whatever they want with it. That's the best way to do things at all times. Look, final headline for me is this one. The Bitcoin magazine reporting that US Marshals revealed the government now holds only 28,988 Bitcoin worth $3.4 billion instead of the estimated 200,000 Bitcoin. Senator Loomis actually quote tweeted this. Senator Loomis obviously being the person who's been pushing forward like the Bitcoin bill, trying to get the United States to accumulate Bitcoin, said, "I'm alarmed by reports that US has sold off over 80% of its Bitcoin reserves, leaving just 29,000 coins. If true, this is a total strategic blunder and sets the United States back years in the Bitcoin race." Tyler then did a bit of a breakdown of, how they came to get this information. There was an independent journalist involved, shared the post, which was used as the primary source of the Bitcoin magazine post. And I would not say it's completely confirmed that this is like definitely the case, but it's definitely something that's just there. And I just thought it was worth bringing up because I do think that is really significant if true, because we're moving into an environment where Bitcoin is becoming so pushed by both Wall Street and the establishment, and then to not have as many as you thought you did, and maybe other countries having more. I don't know. I think it creates an interesting scenario, which is not ideal.
The original journalist did clarify on that, though.
Okay.
There's like a difference to be made between owning Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin. So his point is basically, in short, that so basically the USMS is only in charge of the forfeited assets. The others are being custodied by other branches of the government for pending court cases. The US government still holds that Bitcoin, but will only own it once the assets have been forfeited. And he's been a bit more detailed about that. For example, talking about Arkham listing 94,000 BTC from the Bitfinex hack, but the forfeiture in the Bitfinex case hasn't been decided at least the last time the journalist has checked on that. So there's difference between seized assets that they're holding and forfeited assets that they're owning. And this is where this discrepancy is coming from.
Interesting. So if it's forfeited, if it's like seized assets, you don't actually own them. It's interesting. Interesting kind of legal technicality there.
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe that would make sense. But then also, why would they have any that they own? Because they don't buy any. So I thought they only get stuff from seized assets. I don't know. Maybe there's like another legal way for them to have come to own something outside of seizure. I don't know. Interesting, but definitely something I want to keep an eye on because, Bitcoin sovereign nations accumulating Bitcoin is obviously going to be something we want to keep an eye on, to know what they're up to. I think that'll be important moving forward, especially as a lot of the noises out of the White House and the representatives working on the crypto side of things has been they want to accumulate as much as Bitcoin as possible in a taxpayer neutral way. So we'll keep an eye on it. Just wanted to bring that up to get you guys aware of it because I think it's important. But beyond that, there's nothing else to say for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour live on X video and YouTube live. And you can catch up with us on Apple and Spotify podcast too, if that's how you prefer to consume your media. Thanks to Legendary for hosting. Thanks Oxy and Carpenter for jumping up and your contributions. And all the people in the comments, in the chat, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day. May your portfolios rise. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.